Welcome to Life in Sirens, Behind and on the Scene, a podcast by first responders. We're your hosts, Sophie,
Jamie,
and Aubrey.
The content provided in this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. The views and opinions expressed by the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policies or positions of any medical institutions, emergency medical services, or healthcare organizations. Patient privacy is a top priority, and all discussions involving real-world emergency situations are de-identified and altered to ensure confidentiality. Always consult with a qualified healthcare professional or your local EMS protocols before making any decisions regarding patient care or medical practices. Listener discretion is advised, as some topics may include discussions of real-world emergency situations.
Dispatch tones drop for altered mental status. You walk in expecting the usual. Maybe drugs, maybe hypoglycemia, but this patient looks different.
He's breathing fast. Heart rate 132, skin flushed, glucose normal.
Then his wife says something that should make every medic pause. He was working in the garage all morning.
Within minutes, he began to seize.
No trauma, no history, no warning.
So what's killing him?
Today we're talking about poisonings, the toxins that masquerade as stroke, sepsis, overdose, and psychiatric emergencies. You don't need to be a toxicologist, but you must recognize when something isn't adding up. Today we're focusing on toxins that are uncommon, but absolutely not impossible to see in your career.
So our first segment that we're going to talk about is toxic alcohols. And the first is going to be methanol and ethylene glycol. And if you guys recall, we did a true crime episode that centered ethylene glycol.
Mm-hmm.
So have you ever transported someone that you knew was intoxicated, but something felt off? It just wasn't quite right. That instinct matters. So the reason that these two poisons kill people is the alcohol itself is not the main problem. It's what the liver turns it into. So methanol gets turned into formic acid, which destroys your optic nerve. Methanol steals sight before it steals life, which is a good little pearl.
Yeah.
Ethylene glycol turns into oxalic acid, which forms crystals in the kidneys and then causes renal failure, which often leads to death. So the high-yield clinical clues for your medics are going to be tachypnea without any lung findings. So they'll have like no adventitious lung sounds. They're not going to have anything show up on their chest x-ray or anything like that. The body is compensating, in this case, for severe metabolic acidosis. So they'll oftentimes have vision complaints. Some people will describe it as like snowstorm vision, which I think is really interesting. And you can kind of like imagine what that would be like. Blurry sight, and then photophobia. And then this is extremely suspicious for methanol. The patient looks drunk and their glucose is normal. They're going to have severe nausea, vomiting.
Like projectile.
Yes, like it is going to be exorcist style. Mm-hmm. So symptoms are often going to worsen within 12 to 24 hours. Many patients walk into the ER early and look stable, and then they crash. So as far as EMS is concerned, like what do we do? You're recognizing deterioration risk. So your priorities are going to be aggressive airway awareness, cardiac monitoring, large bore IVs, early transport. If they are already profoundly acidotic, then you're going to expect dysrhythmias, hypotension, and seizures.
Yikes.
So in the hospital, they have an antidote that I doubt any EMS agencies carry called famotidine. It blocks alcohol metabolism. And in severe cases, these patients will go to emergent dialysis. All right, so you have a young adult found in the garage. There's an empty antifreeze container. And the family says, we thought he was just drunk. Do you transport them? Do you stay and play? What is your plan?
An empty antifreeze container?
The whole thing.
Is there a straw in
I'm
it?
scared. Mom, come get me.
Yes. Run.
Literally put them in the truck.
Absolutely.
This is definitely a load and go situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to go. This is going to be your large bore IVs. I like that when we talked about our airway, it was that you want to be aggressively airway aware. Not necessarily that you're going to knock down and tube this patient
prepared.
immediately, but you need to have all of your plans.
Yeah.
All of
You
your
need to have
things ready.
Contingency plans in mind.
For sure. For sure. And antifreeze poisoning is sneaky. and nobody really expects it, and so
Yeah.
oftentimes these patients will just look drunk.
I once had a patient who had a methanol ingestion, and it was because they were an alcoholic
Mhm.
and they were looking for alcohol, and they drank their partner's perfume,
Oh.
several bottles of perfume,
Ew.
because it had, I guess, methanol in it.
Mhm.
Had no idea that some perfumes have that, and
Yeah.
they were very sick. And I did not quantify how sick they were, because it was a pretty fast, like, transport and everything.
Mhm.
But this doctor was freaking out.
Yeah.
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 Freaking out.
Yeah, and these are not with large quantity ingestions. These are not like slow poisonings.
Yeah.
A lot of times when you hear
Oh,
about like
no.
antifreeze
Yeah.
poisoning, it is small quantities for extended periods of time. If it is like you're
Like our
getting-
last episode.
yeah, like you're getting murdered.
Yeah.
It's small quantities for extended period of time, and so that will take a really long time. But for like large ingestions, it is relatively quick.
For sure.
All right, let's talk about cyanide. And we're going to start this segment with a myth buster. Have you ever heard that you can smell almonds?
I have.
Yeah, they
Like
always tell you
around-
that in school.
Well, guess what? Only about 30% of people can have like the ability to smell that.
Okay.
And I'm gonna tell you,
that's kinda
I'm
lame.
Part of the 70% that cannot, because I can't even smell regular alcohol.
Honestly,
so
if you'd be
Mm.
telling me to diagnose somebody based on what they smell like, I'm gonna have a hard time. Please give me more data.
Also, do you know how
correct.
many things are scented like almonds?
Yeah.
Like your granny wear Jergens,
Yeah, that's fair. That's
I'm just-
absolutely fair.
right?
If you have to like defend yourself and like why you didn't, I don't know, call like a coach stroke or something, and your defense is I could smell almonds.
That's weird, bro.
Yeah,
Don't say
maybe
that out loud.
That
get
ain't
a
it.
couple more legs to stand
Yeah.
on.
That ain't it.
So forget that diagnostic tool, okay? But let's talk about what cyanide actually does. So these patients, we have a bloodstream that is full of oxygen. We have lungs that are working, but cyanide shuts down the mitochondria,
The powerhouse of the cell.
the powerhouse of the cell. So the cells cannot use this oxygen. This is called histotoxic hypoxia. The body is oxygenated, but suffocating simultaneously. So where EMS will see this, I bet a lot of you don't realize how like possible it is to see these patient presentations. But let's talk about where and what circumstances you would see it. So structure fires are a big one.
Cyanokits.
Cyanokits. Modern homes burn synthetic materials, plastics, foam, vinyl, insulation, things like that. These items can release cyanide gas. Some fire victims may have dual poisoning of carbon monoxide and cyanide, which is a very deadly combination.
Which is more common than you think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is why we have cyanokits. Here are some tips for some field recognition. Always be suspicious if a smoke inhalation patient has any of the following: altered mental status, hypotension, cardiac instability, and severe lactic acidosis.
Like severe.
Like severe.
Mm-hmm.
Like lactic is greater than 8.
That's so scary.
Very scary. The treatment for this is cyanokit. So if that is something that you carry, have this in the back of your mind, because this might be something that you are able to treat on scene.
Or if you don't carry it, the fire department might.
Yeah. So let's talk about the mechanism of cyanokit and how this works. This will bind to cyanide and it converts it into vitamin B12 and then excretes it into your urine.
Pretty
so
nice.
gets
Yeah.
it right out of there. Oh, so when you give cyanokit, here is a fun but important warning. This will turn your skin and your urine bright red.
Because of the B12.
Which
Because
is
of the
terrifying.
B12, which is terrifying if you give a
Yes.
patient a medication. You're going to think worst case scenario, like allergic reaction, something like that is okay. This is normal. It will also interfere with many lab tests in the hospital. So if you did give this, please tell the hospital that you gave this so that they can be aware of that. If your house fire patient is crashing faster than expected, always think cyanide poisoning.
Pretty much any modern IKEA build is going to be something that burns into
Yes.
the cyanide.
I can't build.
Yes, yeah.
True.
Most of the furniture and like the particle board furniture and the things that we all order off Amazon,
Absolutely.
those are all going to release large amounts of cyanide when they burn.
Yeah.
And that's why houses burn faster these days, because they're made of shit.
Yeah.
They're made of cyanide.
And so house fires are like definitely the most prevalent situation where you'll see these patients, but I've also had like a literal straight up cyanide
This is why I
overdose.
gave you this
Yeah, I was
advice.
wondering. Yeah, I have had like you can plot twist, I did not know this until this day. You can order cyanide on the internet.
I'm sure you're gonna be on some list.
Yeah, please don't, but it is apparently
Please don't.
possible. And I have had a patient that has just like straight up ingested cyanide.
Yeah.
So,
What is it? It's for like jewelry cleaning or something,
Mhm.
right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's freaking weird, bro.
Don't do that.
Next on the list, we have organophosphate poisoning. I feel like
It is the season.
yeah, it
Mhm.
is. And we talk about this a lot in school,
Yeah.
at least at some point.
Sludge 'em.
Yeah, sludge 'em.
And we'll get into it. Hold on. So where it happens, obviously, Jamie said, tis the season. Farms, pesticide exposure, industrial accidents, and actually just pure suicide attempts.
Mm-hmm.
It's historically used as a nerve agent, which is quite terrifying.
Yeah.
And it works. So, and we were just talking about this in our rant.
We were.
So, organophosphates, they're going to disable your acetylcholinesterase. So, acetylcholine builds up if it's unchecked, essentially, and there's lots of drugs that can cause interference with acetylcholinesterase. So basically, your parasympathetic nervous system just starts panicking. You know, like that episode of SpongeBob where he's just like running around in his own brain and all the filing cabinets are popping open and they're on fire. That is exactly what happens.
Yep.
And there's a classic toxidrome that we teach. It's sludgeum. So the salivation, lacrimation, urination, defecation, GI cramps, emesis, and meiosis. So when I say everything's on fire and everything's
Mhm.
overflowing out of the filing cabinets and SpongeBob's running around
Yeah.
screaming, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Everything is leaking.
Everything.
Yes. Every liquid in your body does not stay where it is supposed to go.
No.
It's finding its
yucky.
Mm-hmm.
quickest way out.
It's like it's fleeing because it's being poisoned.
Yep.
Bronchuria. We talk about this a lot with our intubated patients, but a lot of secretions can be happening with this toxidrome. Most deaths are from respiratory failure, and it's not just because people become unresponsive and stop breathing. It's because everything is leaking in edematous and
Absolutely.
yucky.
Yeah, if you think that like their salivation is a large amount of secretion, that's happening throughout like their
Their
entire
whole body.
airway. Like it is
Yes.
not good.
It is. This is a hard patient to manage. You have to be aggressive for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if this patient is exposed to organophosphates, there's a good chance it's on their skin. And if it's on their skin, there's a good chance it's going to end up on your skin. Because I guarantee you that you're not in a full hazmat suit. I wouldn't be.
Mm-mm.
Especially because of the things you're probably going to get called for in this situation.
Yeah, I think that we miss that a lot when we talk about organophosphate poisoning. They're like, all right, now protect yourself, decon your patient, all the things. We would get called for shortness of breath.
Mm-hmm.
That's how
Yeah.
it would come out.
Yeah.
It would be like Farmer Joe came inside and he's short of breath.
He's coughing, he can't breathe.
Yes, and
he's
we would
slobbery.
we would immediately assume like COPD
Yes.
or something, and then you
STEMI,
get there and you figure out that it is very much not that,
Yeah.
and you may be able to recognize this, but not before you're already in that environment.
No. You're gonna be you're gonna
Mhm.
be in it. And
Yeah.
what's crazy is depending on how sick your patient is, they could off gas enough to cause some illness in yourself. Not like it would be crazy if it would be extreme, but like you know how like when somebody calls for a gas alarm going off and they're like, does anybody have nausea, vomiting, or headache? They're like, I kind of do have a headache.
Mhm.
That's what's gonna happen to you.
Yep. Yep.
So if the scene feels wrong or something feels wrong, just trust your gut. Stage, use appropriate PPE. Make sure we decontaminate the patient.
Mm-hmm.
and know that you are probably going to need to decontaminate your ambulance and yourself immediately after you drop this patient off. And number one rule to hazmat, you cannot treat the patient if you are now a patient.
Yeah.
So what is the treatment? Well, number one, the one we always get hammered into our little brains in school is atropine, which is great because it dries those secretions. And we can give them a ton of atropine. You just keep giving it. Like, you're going to give all your atropine, probably.
Yep.
I don't know how much you carry, but
You're
probably
gonna
not
give
enough for this.
pretty much all of it, yeah.
So don't be timid. It's okay. It's just atropine. And then we have 2-PAM, which doesn't really get carried so often. It may in certain areas where the risk is significant for organophosphate poisoning, or maybe in a facility that has, like, I don't know, produces these products or whatever. But it just basically reverses the enzyme binding.
The 2-PAM, the reason that it has to be given early is because it reactivates the acetylcholinesterase. So it binds to the actual enzyme, and then it has a group on it that has a really strong affinity for phosphorus. So then it pulls the phosphate group of the acetylcholinesterase to restore the normal enzyme function. So basically
it is, like, not going to help.
Yes, it basically, like, the acetylcholinesterase gets held captive by the organophosphate so that it can't do anything. And then 2-PAM comes in there and is like, hey, let go of my friend. And it whaps the organophosphate off of the acetylcholinesterase, so it is now a functioning enzyme again.
Then why would you have to only give it early?
I think that
It just gets too clogged up in there.
yeah, so it has to break the phosphorus enzyme bond. And maybe once you get far enough down that cascade, it can no longer break that bond.
Okay. You probably don't have 2-PAM. I'm just going to say that. It used to be a thing.
Oh, okay. So actually, the reason you have to give it early.
All right, cool. we just had to keep reading. Remember that literacy quiz?
Yes,
literacy quiz.
We were close. Over time, the organophosphate and the acetylcholinesterase bond undergoes some aging. And apparently, bond aging makes it irreversible.
That's terrifying.
So after the bond ages or, like, cements itself, the 2-PAM will not work.
Okay.
Some agents will age in minutes, like nerve agents, but others take hours, like pesticides.
That's good. It's good for your patient.
Yeah, if you are a victim of a war crime, this probably won't work. If you are a farmer, this probably will work. All right, so another one that we see not very often but are all familiar with is methemoglobinemia. So what happens is the iron that is inside your hemoglobin is going to change form. So it can no longer carry oxygen. Your pulse ox is going to become unreliable, which often it gets stuck despite O2 delivery. So causes that you'll actually encounter in EMS is benzocaine sprays before procedures, nitrates, contaminated well water, and certain antibiotics.
Oh my God.
It can also rise from intentional ingestion. So the hallmark signs is going to be chocolate-colored blood.
Like, legit, guys.
Yeah.
You are going to tell.
It's going to look like a little Hershey bar in there. Yeah. It does not turn red when exposed to oxygen.
Damn that iron.
Yep, and the treatment is going to be methylene blue. So rapid reversal when given early, and the patient often improves dramatically.
Methylene blue is so cool.
And so kind of also something that can be treated with methylene blue is going to be sodium nitrate. So the reason why we're talking about this is because it's been a growing trend to be used in suicide. It can be purchased online, and a lot of providers have never heard of it. So the mechanism is that it forces hemoglobin into the methaglobin form, massive oxygen delivery failure, and young patients can collapse shockingly fast. So some field clues is you're going to see sudden cyanosis, severe hypoxia, altered mental status, gray or blue skin, with minimal lung findings.
You're going to look like an
alien. Minimal lung findings. So you're going to have a really, really sick patient for seemingly zero reason. It is treated with the same antidote, methylene blue. And early recognition is truly going to be life-saving.
Guys, this is a list of everything that methylene blue can treat. Refractory vasodilatory shock, septic shock patients, post-cardiac bypass, vasoplegia, anaphylactic shock where pressors are failing, drug-induced vasoplegia for ACE inhibitors or calcium channel blocker related physiology, cyanide poisoning as an adjunct, certain types of encephalopathy, hepatopulmonary syndrome. Just like a lot of things. I can keep going, but
Guys, sodium nitrite, but it's given for cyanide poisoning. So it induces methemoglobinemia on purpose. So the sodium nitrite oxidizes hemoglobin, so it changes your iron to the form that it cannot carry oxygen, which creates methemoglobinemia.
Mm-hmm.
Methaglobin binds cyanide
and that's why methylene blue is an adjunct agent
For
for cyanide
for
poisoning.
cyanide poisoning, because the methemoglobin has a high affinity for cyanide, so it binds the cyanide, which forms an entire new structure. It pulls the cyanide away from the mitochondria, which then sequesters it, and aerobic metabolism can resume. So you give sodium nitrite, you induce methemoglobinemia.
So I'm gonna kill you faster,
And then
but
you-
then I want to save you.
And
then
then
I'm
you
gonna-
give methylene blue to reverse the induction of methemoglobinemia.
Uno reverse.
That's crazy.
Like, that's wild,
That is wild.
but very cool.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. Actually, legitimately crazy.
That is wild.
That's a lot
Medicine
of work.
is wild.
And, like, sometimes I just wonder how people came up with this mess. I'm
They
like,
just
did you just
started
accidentally poison someone twice, and then you're like, the first one kind of got better?
Or they had multiple poisonings, so they were
Right.
like, we'll treat one of them. And
Or
we'll
did
give
we
you
like do science in a lab and figure it out?
That was science.
But sometimes I wonder.
The
you know?
lab was just a hospital.
Sometimes I'm like, is this how we found
Yeah.
out about bread, or is this like,
Like penicillin?
yeah, or did we have like wraps?
Right.
You know,
Combination.
what are we
Were
doing?
we studying the mold,
There
or was
has
this
to
a
be-
happy accident?
Yes.
There has to be some anecdotal
Well, both.
like identity behind most breakthroughs, I think.
Right. Something.
Yeah.
So, how do we approach unknown poisoning?
Well, first of all, we have to shift our mental model when approaching these patients. We need to stop asking, what did they take? Tell me right now, what did they take?
What
What
did
did
you
you take?
You were
I know
dead.
you
What
took
did you
something.
take?
You were dead.
What did they take? I'm just trying to help you.
I don't care. I'm just helping.
So stop doing that and start asking, what is the body telling me? Look for patterns, know your toxidromes, and know that they matter more than whatever substance somebody's telling you on scene.
Yeah, a lot of these for us especially, obviously there's a few where we can intervene with a specific anecdote, but
You know, one time this happened to me.
I mean it could work. But sometimes it's just supportive care, right?
If I could summarize what EMS is in one sentence for particularly this episode, it would be that pattern recognition.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
EMS is pattern recognition.
100%.
And that's what we're talking about here. Don't get so caught up on the patient verbally telling you all the answers, because guess what?
They might be
Sometimes they
wrong.
don't. And sometimes they might be wrong. You need to be able to look at a good clinical picture of what your patient looks like, of what your monitor is telling you, and mash those two things together and solve this mystery.
I feel like toxidromes are always on the bottom of the list. Like, we go through all of the possible medical causes of everything, and then I'm like, but they're like 32 and have been working outside all day, and this just doesn't make any sense. And then
Yeah.
you're like, he's drilling all over himself. It's probably organophosphate poisoning. I'm like,
Yeah, I think we
Is
love
it?
to be like,
Maybe
no,
once,
that's so
though."
rare. That's not what's
Right.
happening. We do that. We
Mhm.
definitely do that in
Mhm.
EMS.
For sure.
In all medicine, I think.
for sure. So I think make sure that, especially in the seasons where it gets warmer and exposure to toxidromes is far more likely,
Yeah.
just make sure those are on your radar.
Yeah, bump those up the differential list a couple
Absolutely.
notches.
Yeah. So what are the things that I need to monitor? What are my priorities?
So, again, with any patient, airway, oxygenation, and then pay special attention to glucose. Glucose can tell you a lot of things about this patient, where
Mhm.
we're at as far as like compensating or decompensating. Temperature, always ECG, just do the 12 lead. Do the 12 lead. And then IV access.
And what is the most important phone number that you can possibly remember for these patients?
1-800.
222-1222.
So
That was pretty good.
that was pretty good. We didn't even rehearse that.
I stopped because I was ruining it, but
No, it was going so well.
So just a quick recap. That is 6 2s and 1 1.
1-8. We are making everything so complicated
Great.
for you.
Yeah. That
6 2s, actually 2 1s, 1 8, 2 0s.
I love that. I love that. It's not
You have to put it in order.
in order. You have to figure. That's the new puzzle. What did your patient take, and also what is his phone number?
Decode
It is 1-800-222-1222.
You got this.
It's free, and they're available 24/7.
And they're
They
so
are.
nice, actually.
They are so nice.
Let me.
They're like, thank God somebody called me.
They
Jeez.
did, and let me just give you a fun little warning. If you work in an area that you did not live in when you obtained your phone number,
Specifically
Oh,
state.
yes.
specifically state, it will send you to that area codes, whatever your phone number is. It will send you to that area code's poison control.
So if you have a truck phone, use a truck phone.
Yes. So when I call poison control for our patients, it sends me to Kentucky's poison control,
Which is way
Which is
weird.
not where I am. And so I have to be like, I need to talk to Tennessee.
And they're
and-
like, what? And
yeah.
they don't.
And they'll be like, okay, I guess we can transfer you. And it's always a weird situation. So now I find someone on scene that has a Tennessee area code, and it works out way better. But if you work somewhere differently than like what your phone number says where you are,
Just be
then
prepared to get transferred.
yes, be prepared to get transferred by poison control.
And if you've never called poison control before, they'll ask you if you're like a provider,
Mm-hmm.
and then like if you're pre-hospital, hospital, whatever. And it's pretty cool. They
Yeah.
like give you literally their medical direction, so it's
Mhm.
Oh,
pretty awesome.
yes, they give you so much information.
So all that to say, you probably won't see these very often. I know this has been a chaotic episode. The last couple have been chaotic, which makes them more fun. But we just wanted to talk about some of the fun things. I know that we kind of talked about some anecdotal things and some things we've seen because we love to tell a war story. But we're not going to have much time to figure these things out. So just make sure you're treating your patient with supportive care and all those wonderful things. Great medics don't just treat what's obvious. Sometimes we have to dig a little deeper. We have to find the zebra, find the underlying issue. So we'll see you next time. Don't be toxic.
Oof.
If this episode brought you value, take a moment to rate and review the show. It helps more providers find us. Follow Life in Sirens, join our mailing list for exclusive content, and visit lifeinsirenspodcast.com for resources and downloadables built for the modern provider. And if this conversation made you think, send it to your partner, your preceptee, or someone on your crew, because better providers build better systems.
This has been Life in Sirens, produced by 3 nerds trying to bring you content that you might actually care about.